What's up, guys? Welcome to the channel. Excoundrel AFK Journey here, and we are going to be talking about the battle drills because this is a very interesting setup, and it's also just a good one to show you some basic battle drill tactics, if you like. Now, I am currently with the top guild on my server. Now, I was in an excellent guild called Badoa, but unfortunately, and I think some of you who are in a similar situation may have felt this, when the district rankings came out, I feel to be competitive, you kind of have to band all of your whales into one guild. And so I just joined the whale guild on my server. So they're the #1 guild, and they have the best chance of performing on the district level. And I feel like we've actually just gained a load of recruits. I'm one of like several new recruits that have joined from some of the other top guilds. And unfortunately, the district changes have kind of done this to guilds where whales are naturally going to gravitate together to compete versus the other cluster of whales in the district. And I wouldn't call myself a massive whale. I call myself a dolphin. I've spent a little bit on the game, but not a massive amount. But here we go. Let's talk about battle drills now, since we're in the thick of it. I haven't actually started yet, and it's only just started today, so you're going to start with me for the time being. Now, in battle drills, you have to take out all of the strongholds before you get anywhere and get towards the bosses. So specifically, when you're doing battle drills, your aim is, as a guild, to conserve as much stamina as you physically can to get to the last boss as efficiently as possible. It's not to spend as much stamina, even though spending stamina does grant you rewards. If you want to be competitive, it is to conserve as much stamina as a guild until you get to the boss, because the more stamina that you have to spend on the boss, the better you are to do in the rankings. Now, with this, on this level, there are plenty of little strongholds that need ticking out before you can get to these bosses. So to get to these guys here, you do need to essentially take out practically everything else on the map. So these all need to go down, essentially. The big ones are going to be your buff strongholds. So these should be, if you've got people starting at the top, these should be a focus for these. They go and immediately get the buffs. The quicker these guys get the buffs, the better it's going to be for the rest of your guild. And then your others should efficiently path round to get to the bigger strongholds. And then what happens is you can then take out this one afterwards. They'll take the buff stronghold and come in. They'll take the buff stronghold and come in. And then, what's the undo button on this? Is that it? Yeah. And then you take this one. And that's the most efficient way of pathing on this. And afterwards, everybody goes for the bosses, and then everybody collapses here. And essentially, when it resets, you do it again. So that is like the general pathway that you should take. I'm not taking credit for this. My guild leader designed that pathway in Dinkies on server. What server am I on? 69. So that is basically the way that you approach this. Now, in terms of building teams for this section of the game, this is where, oops, what have I done? Right, yeah, so this is where you need to take into account kind of like what you need to get through the first stages. Now, with the guard stages, there are two ways to approach this, but generally 3-people teams are going to be the most efficient way, because most of your 3-person teams should be able to beat at least the easy guards in above the 60-second mark. So you have to beat them within 30 seconds. If you beat them within 30 seconds, you get half your stamina back. I think if you beat them above 30 or 40, you get like a quarter of your stamina back or something. But the aim is to beat every guard battle above 60 seconds. There are generally ways that you can do that relatively easily. Burst damage really helps. Consistent damage really helps. Grouping up sort of abilities that group people up or deal AoE damage really help. What you need to think about when you're building your team is that you do need to put in heroes at the start that you are going to want to use for the remainder. Once you get to level 10 and level 20, level 40, level 60, etc. That's when you can start adding more heroes. But you are going to need, as in like, in my honest opinion, and I know I'm kind of waffling here, but my honest opinion is that you should put in your boss DPS carries at the very start, because you're going to need them. Now, you don't have to put all of them in. You can add boss DPS carries, but you should be very strategic about what you place in here. You do not need that many supports, especially getting through the guard stages. You practically don't need supports to get through the guard stages. Very rarely you're going to take enough damage for that to even be a concern, especially if you're doing easy guard battles. And when you get to the boss phase, you're basically going to be running 3 teams of 5. So you should at maximum have 5 decent team-wide supports in here. You probably want to run 3 tanks, and the rest of it is either going to be a mix of DPS or kind of like off tanks and maybe an extra buffer or debuffer here or there, right? So that is kind of what you're aiming for. Now with me, like, okay, I'm definitely running Odie. He's coming in. I'm definitely running Iron. He's going to be fantastic. I'm going to run Carolina. I'm going to run Thorin. Valor becomes incredibly useful once the boss drops below 50% HP. Florabelle is fantastic. I think Arden is obviously going to be brilliant. So what have I got? Let's deploy. I've got these so far. I've got Odie. So I've got 1 DPS, 2 DPS, 3 DPS, 4 DPS, 5 DPS. So I've probably got enough DPS at this stage. In terms of faction bonuses, I've got some Graveborn. I'm probably going to want to run Rainier because he's going to be great for the bosses and also can act as a support / an additional faction bonus. Smokey and Mirky is probably going in. Damien or Hewin is probably going in. Probably Damien. So that's got me 2 supports. And I might remove Valor for the time being. So I'm going to have a look at what else I can add in here. So I probably could run... I can run a trio of Odie, Smokey and Mirky and Coco. That would probably be good enough. Maybe with 1 additional because they might not get through things because they don't have much AoE damage. I'd probably run like Rainier or Carolina, Thorin and... Carolina, Thorin and like Arden. Or no, I'd run Iron, Florabelle and Arden to get through, and then maybe like Carolina, Thorin and Damien, or Carolina, Thorin and Rainier. That seems relatively okay. So those feel like a good set. I mean, I'm thinking about potentially running Alsa. I think Alsa would definitely get through the bosses really quickly. And this is why it's important. I mean, Carolina's not going to be that good yet, but she's very good for strongholds. She's very, very good for strongholds. But obviously I can add in some of my boss killers later on. Carolina is very good for strongholds, though, so I should keep her in for the time being. Alsa is a decent boss damage carry and can be useful outside of that. So we're going to put Rainier in. I might add Rainier in later and then go for Coco. So this is why, you know, you've got to just be quite fair. We've got 1, 2, 3 supports. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 DPS, and we've got 1, 2. I'm cooling Iron a tank. That should be fine. Coco can also kind of tank. That looks like a relatively reasonable setup for me for the time being. And then I'm going to add in... but do you know what? Cessia actually could be better than Florabelle, better than Carolina, or even could be better than Damien. I don't even really need healers at this point, but I do need healers down the line, so that is worth mentioning. Do you know what? We'll put Cessia in rather than Coco. So then eventually we will add in things like maybe Marilee, Corin, Coco, and Rainier, and that might make up my sort of later stage teams. Maybe Valor. We'll see. This feels like a relatively reasonable ad. I've got 5 ads, so I've got plenty of space to add things down the line. And now we're going to go in and battle. Okay, so we are in here. We want to make sure that we're using the best possible setup for this. So let's go for Crescent Spell now. I'm just going to quickly look. This is so we're actually straight into we're straight into a stronghold here. So we don't have to worry about doing the 3-person things now. We can just use 2 teams of 5. Which means I might just go for a classic here for this one. So I'll just go for a classic for this one for the time being. And then we'll go for the Crescent Spell. And this should be good enough. This is because we're not dealing with the guards right now, so we don't have to go for 3-person teams. It's fine. They didn't get grouped up very well, but whatever. I actually hate these guys that just run around. They're really annoying. They don't get hit by any of my AoE. So with the strongholds, you're obviously just looking to deal as much damage as possible, so you're just going to play your best possible teams in this situation. Later down the line, though, it is worth saving stamina, especially for your best performing boss DPS players. The reason being is the more stamina you can save for your best performing boss DPS players, the better it's going to be for your guild's performance overall. All right, we've done 1 billion damage. We've taken absolutely no damage. The team is barely been touched so far. All right, so we did 1,875,000 damage. I'm kind of interested to see how the rest of my guild has done in terms of contribution on that, because you can sometimes tell. Okay, I did pretty decent in that sense. Let's have a go again. So these guys can run once more, so we're going to run them again. And if you're going directly into a stronghold, this is what it will be like. But obviously, when we get to the guard stage, that's where you're going to start using Silas. I might even, it depends, I might even be able to, if I'm very lucky, get to the guard stage. It really depends on how much damage I can do and if I can knock out enough of the stronghold guards. I think there's a good chance we could get to the guard stage with the amount of damage that we're doing here. We should take out a couple of them on this push. It's going pretty well so far. Let's go. Arden is a beast, by the way. I want to look. I'll show you the damages that all of the characters are doing after this. Oh yeah, we're definitely getting to the guard stage. I really hope we can kill these guys in the next couple of seconds. Otherwise, oh no, this is the issue now. We're gonna waste stamina, going for a kill on just 2. I didn't look at the damage either, did I? I'm gonna waste stamina now. So here's what we're gonna do, right? There isn't much left to do in this situation. You do not want to field a full team, because essentially you are going to get stuck in a situation where you're going to waste a load of stamina. So in this situation here, given that there are only 3 left with very little HP, what I'm probably going to do is I'm probably going to run Odie and Smokey and Mirky, and just have Odie and Smokey and Mirky by themselves, potentially with Stormcaller spell, and just hope that Odie executes them. Do I actually need to run 3 at minimum? This is a bit painful, actually. So this is going to impact my guard performance. Ideally, you have a weaker member of your guild at this point come and do this, but for the sake of the video, I'm going to have to show you. And in this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to run... Also, 1 second, my dogs are barking, again, as per usual, at everything that moves. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to have... this run now. Like I said, ideally we have a weaker member of the guild do this, because it's really not that much HP to get down, but we are going to do it this way for the time being. Yes, my formation is incomplete. Hopefully, basically Smokey probably just executes these guys, or at least quickly. Yeah, like, this is why we're not going to field a full team in this situation, because it just didn't need to happen. It's a bit of a waste of energy, and this is what I mean by being as energy efficient as you can be. Really, my guild doesn't have any really weak people, so you know, like, end of the day, I'm probably one of the weaker people in my guild. But now I can show you what we are doing in terms of these guard battles. There are only 5 to do here. You have to field 3 people at a minimum. So because we've already fielded 5, what I'm actually going to do in this situation is I'm going to save energy on as many people as I can. And so you have to field 3 at an absolute minimum, which is the painful thing. We'll run Smokey. Do you know what? We'll just run these guys for the time being. And I'm not going to do anything with Florabelle and Cessia for the time being, although they will come back into use a little bit later on. I will say, though, Smokey and Mickey are very good for bosses, so I want to kind of keep Smokey and Mickey going for the time being, but this will be fine. I'm just going to run 3. And what I'm going to do is I might get... Will I get energy back? Will I do this quickly enough? This is actually the question. I actually think that we'll probably do this quicker with these 2. And what that means is I need to get some energy back. I'm trying to field the best possible team that I can get to essentially beat these as quickly as possible. I don't think I need the defense. I'm just going to go for Star Shard spell. It's still probably the best way to deal as much damage to the room as possible. And then hopefully we should be able to beat this in above the 60-second mark. Once we get the summons out, it should be a lot easier. There we go. Summons out. Boom. Got 8 enemies to get down in 10 seconds. Come on, come on, come on. There we go. Right, we did that in 63 seconds. What that means is we're going to get some energy back here, which is great. You'll notice it. These guys get 6 energy back in this case, which is half the energy required. I now know that this comp is good enough to take down guards as a 3. It also means that I should be able to just field practically anyone here. And I might even be able to make full use out of the entire team. So I can use Florabelle and Cessia in this case to just essentially work with whatever we've got left. I know, even though I'm taking damage here, it's easy guards, and I'm not really expecting to worry. Once my summons are out, we're not going to have that much of a problem. Okay, that's fine. Easy enough. Okay. Oh, just under the 60-second mark. That is actually really painful. We got 4 energy back. Not actually ideal. We would have loved to have had 6 energy back in that case, which has now meant that if I got 6 energy back, I could have run Cessia and Florabelle with Smokey and Mickey for another push here. That's a little unfortunate on my behalf. I was 1 second out. I genuinely did not think that we would struggle there. It was going to be close, clearly, but because we managed it with Smokey and Mickey, I thought, well, we're just going to add another DPS in. Surely that'll be fine. Didn't work out that way. So that's a bit of a mistake in terms of stamina usage on my part. You do want to be relatively certain that the 3-man comps that you're running can do this within 30 seconds. I obviously pushed the envelope a little bit there for the sake of the video because I was trying to get in. And then I was going to, essentially what I was going to do after this was run Cessia, Florabelle, and Smokey and Mickey, and then regardless of the outcome, I basically maximized my stamina usage. Obviously, the problem that we ran into here was that the Stronghold had such little HP left. I had to field the team, which is, again, a bit of an issue. If you have those situations, it's always good to have a weaker member of the squad come in and do that. But yeah, that's basically the TLDR. What we're going to do is we're going to get through these 3 attacks. That will take, a minimal amount of effort from some people in the guild. We'll go to another Stronghold. We'll push that through. Another 5 attacks. Another Stronghold will be pushed through. Another 10 attacks. And then it's down to taking another Stronghold here as well. And then after that, you want to start adding in your extra boss killers. So in my case, if I'm looking to add people in here, what I'm going to add, I've got 5 choices. I'll probably add Rainier, Coco. I'll probably add Vala, Marilee, and Corin. I'm just thinking about my supports. How many supports have I got? I've got Damien and I've got Smokey and Mirky. Coco can probably be a good enough support. There may be a world where I want to add Huin over Corin, for instance. That's always worth considering. But that's kind of how you would approach. And what you need to do then in your guild is you need to prioritize your weakest members to basically take down the guards. So you want your weakest members taking down the guards because they're the easiest fights. It's that, or you put strong members who know they can clear the guards within 30 seconds using the minimal amount of resources. You then want to make sure that you do not spend all of your boss killers or your big heavyweight people on the strongholds. You want them to conserve their stamina, and that sometimes means logging in and doing nothing on the battle drills and letting your guild do the rest of it. Because when the boss battles come up, that's where the real progress is made in terms of rankings. So you want your big heavyweight boss people, the people with Mythic plus Rainier, the people with really good Marilees, with really good Odies. You want those guys to have the most stamina possible on their boss squads to go and deal the most damage possible to the boss and progress your ranking as high as they physically can get it. And that will help you do well in these battle drills. Hopefully that's been helpful for you. I'm sorry that I couldn't show you the absolute optimal way because I just didn't quite have the right amount of damage. I was so close to getting the kill on the Stronghold, and it's really annoying that I had to field a team just to take down like 80 million worth of damage or whatever it was. But there we go. We are now heading in, and hopefully I can do another update video when it comes down later in this battle drill. Hope this has been helpful for you guys, and I'll see you soon.